So you're looking for great tips for your next cruise vacation. I promise that by the end of this video, you're going to learn a ton of new things that will make your next adventure at sea a lot more enjoyable. And I hope that if you like this video, you subscribe. Remember, these are in no particular order, so let's get started with number 1. So first, let's start with booking. Now I always pick my own cabin. I never let them, the cruise line, pick a cabin for me, even though I can save a lot of money by doing that. Because it's a kind of a big gamble if you really think about it. Unless maybe you're not picky at all and you really don't care, it is a gamble because you can get stuck with obstructed views if you're in a balcony. You can get stuck with being placed near like a really busy crew area or near an elevator or underneath of a certain, maybe a club or something like that where there's a lot of noise. So you don't have a choice and there's nothing you can do if you get stuck with a room like that. So if you are going to let them pick a room for you, be prepared. Now I'm picky, so I pick my own room, and here are my criteria for picking that room. There are things that you want to watch out for. So first, I don't like my room to be connected to other rooms. Like if there's a door in between, it's a great thing for families. So if you have kids or something like that, it's an easy way to get in and out. But if you don't, then you will get a little bit of extra noise from that door. Remember, it's not as insulated as a wall, so it's a good idea to try to stay away from rooms that have connections to other rooms. Another important thing to remember is the placement of the room itself. If a room is in the middle of the ship, usually it means that you'll have less movement on it. It's also going to be easier to get to certain places. So if you have like a room that's all the way on the end on either side, you're going to have to walk usually down all the way over there. It's going to be far and you're probably going to feel a lot more movement there. So keep that in mind. You're going to want to make sure you pick a room somewhere in the middle if you think you're going to get seasick. I don't really get seasick, but I do like to keep my room somewhere in the middle for the views from the balcony and because it's much easier to get to certain activities like the buffets, the restaurants, and all that stuff. It's much easier to get to it, so I like the middle. Another important thing is to be surrounded by other cabins. This is something that a lot of people don't really think about. You want to be surrounded by cabins on all sides, basically up, down, left, right, everywhere, even across from you. You want to have cabins because if that's the case, that's more sound insulation for you. If you are placed next to a crew area that's really busy, at night you will hear a lot of that movement, right? You might hear trays, people going in and out, and etc. If you are placed, with your room next to a door or an elevator or something like that, you're gonna hear a lot more noise. So your best bet is to take a room that has basically other rooms surrounding it. Because if you have, some sort of a venue on top of you, you're gonna hear footsteps. So it's a lot better, it's a lot quieter, and usually a better bet if you're surrounded by a whole bunch of other rooms. That way you have the best sound insulation. Now once you pick and reserve your room, it's really important to check back because a lot of the times they may have sales and the prices may drop. If that's the case, you can get your price adjusted. Now what you'll probably have to do is call them to get that price adjustment, and of course after a certain amount of time, I believe it's when the actual full price of the cruise is due, is where it's all locked in and you sort of can't get an adjustment anymore. And if that's the case, if you get to happen to catch a sale or something after you pay for the cruise and you can't really adjust, you can still call them and try to get upgrades or other freebies. A lot of the times they are pretty accommodating, and even though you won't get your price adjusted, you might get something else. It's important to call and always ask. Now it's really important to understand what's included and what's not included in your cruise prices. You want to make sure that you research your drink and food packages if you plan to drink or if you're a foodie. Like alcohol packages are quite tricky. There's a lot of different complexities to them, but there are a couple of websites actually that are quite helpful. Basically, it's kind of like a calculator. It allows you to input how much you drink and etc. and shows you whether it's worth it to get a drink package or not. I'll link them for you down below. Check them out, see if you like them. But I definitely would consider to get a package, some sort of a package if you drink or if you're a foodie. Consider also non-alcoholic packages for unlimited water, juices, sodas, and coffees. If you're gonna have any of that, a lot of those packages are honestly no-brainers. Make sure to look at them. And then the specialty restaurant packages are really smart. If you're a foodie and you're gonna upgrade your cuisine, you wanna go to specialty paid restaurants, you can save so much money by booking this stuff early in your cruise planner, because I'm going to talk about this later, but the prices do not get any better. You want to book them as early as you can, but also you can get dining packages a lot of the times. When you combine multiple restaurants together, you can save the most money that way. It's really, really important to do that, because if you do this when you get on the ship, you're going to be paying the most amount of money you can. So save yourself some money and buy it in the cruise planner before you go on your cruise. And that's something that actually goes for everything, basically. Your drinks, your food, your Wi-Fi, the excursions, anything that you get, you save a lot of money if you do it pre-cruise. The prices never get any better. Plus, you get to pick the best appointment times for like your spa stuff, for all the restaurants, right? You can just book your appointments right then and there, and you're good to go. Now, if you come on board and the prices are actually cheaper, which is a very small chance, I think I've never seen that before, but if they are cheaper, you can always ask for adjustments or some sort of compensations, right? Remember, it doesn't hurt to always ask, and a lot of the times they are pretty accommodating. Now lastly, make sure to check cruise allowances for alcohol, soda, water, and other things, because they do allow you to bring a certain amount of stuff on the cruise with you. So if you don't plan on buying these unlimited packages, honestly, it's no-brainer to bring some of the stuff with you because you're allowed. You can also check cruise excursion alternatives via private providers versus the ones that are, working with the ship that are in your cruise planner. You could try to, get some yourself. They're definitely cheaper, but be really careful, because the cruise lines usually only wait for their own excursions in case of any issues. If you want 100% to be backed up, sometimes it's good to pay a little bit extra. So keep that in mind. Speaking about paying extra, it's important to check your medical insurance and see if it covers you while you're cruising. Because if not, medical costs, if something happens, it would be insane. They're mind-boggling. So you want to make sure that you get insurance if you don't have it, so it covers you while you are on that cruise. You have to make sure that you have proper cruise insurance that covers you while you're on the cruise, maybe out of the country and so on. Make sure to check. Now let's talk about getting to the cruise port and what you have to do before you actually get on the ship. Now it's really important. It's honestly a pro move to try to get to the cruise port one day early at least. You never want to travel on the same day that you're going on a cruise, for obvious reasons, right? It's definitely worth the extra money. All of that extra cost, whatever you have to pay for the hotel or whatever else, build that into your travel. You do not want the extra stress or the risk of not making your vacation because you're traveling. Planes are not that dependable. You don't want to travel on the same day that you're going on a cruise. So a pro move is always to book it a day early and be there the day before, nice and relaxed. You can get to go to sleep, you're fresh, you don't have to wake up early and run around and be afraid you won't make it. That also ruins your first day of the cruise. But you don't want to get to the cruise and go to sleep right away because you're tired or because you're stressed. You want to start enjoying your vacation right away. So if you want to do that, the pro move, always get to the cruise, port a day early, get your hotel, build that into the cost, and start enjoying your vacation right away. Next, you also want to make sure that you check into your cruise as early as possible. You're going to get an email or notification from an app or something like that that's going to say you're ready to check into your cruise. Check in ASAP as soon as you get that notification, because you'll be allowed to pick the earliest time to walk onto the ship itself. Remember, you can't just walk on whenever you want the day that you're leaving. You're going to be given a time. That time slot is based on when you check in, whoever gets it first, right? So if you want the earliest time slots, you have to check in the earliest to get them. So it's really important. You can jump on the ship nice and early, 11:30 even at some points, right? If you're leaving around 4 or 5, and you can start enjoying stuff. Now your room is not going to be ready until 1:30 most of the time, but you can still hang out on the ship, check it out. You can also go and have lunch, right? A lot of the restaurants, the buffets, and whatever, they will be open, so you can get some food and get ready to start enjoying your vacation, because you're going to be fresh. Remember, you get into the port a day early, it's going to be nice, it's going to be ready, vacation time. Another thing you want to do is possibly pack some stuff into your carry-on the first day of the cruise, because you check in your bags as soon as you get to the port, right? When you step out of your cab, there are going to be folks over there. You give them the bags, and then you walk in to start your check-in process. You get your bags later after check-in. They'll bring them to your room, and sometimes it takes a little while. You might not get them, after 5 or 6 p.m. even, right? So it's important sometimes to grab some of that extra carry-on stuff with you if you wanted to refresh, change your clothes, and so on, when you get on the ship, because remember, if you're going to get there early, you won't get your bags until probably a few hours later. So it's important to grab some of that stuff that you may need and not check it in, but carry it on. Another thing I do right away is get to my muster drill done ASAP, right? There's usually an app now that allows you to watch the videos, do all the things that you need to do, then go find your muster station once you actually get onto the ship, get checked off, and then you're good to go. Now I usually start the process as soon as I get to the cruise port. While I'm literally in the terminal checking in, I go through, I look through the stuff, do everything I need to do, find out where my muster station is, walk in right away and go check it in and get it done, because you don't want to be holding anybody up. Just get your muster drills done ASAP so you're good to go. Another important thing to do is to book all of your onboard activities on the ship as soon as you get on board, literally, or even before via the app if you can. Like the paid restaurants, they tend to get sold out on sea days, on popular times. They also usually get sold out in the end of the cruises. If you have a big party, you'll definitely need a reservation. And sometimes if you want to eat at specific times, maybe not at 8 or 9 p.m., you're gonna have to book those reservations early. So you have the best chance of booking them as soon as you get on the ship. So try to get that done ASAP. And if you're boarding a mega ship like an Oasis or Harmony or Wonder or any of those big ones, you also want to make sure that you book all of your shows, because they also will require a reservation and will definitely be sold out. It's important to book all of them right away. So just walk up to any of the office folks or any of the people that can help you with that and just get them done as soon as you get on the ship. A few more really important things. You want to make sure you put your phone into airplane mode. It will connect to whatever network you're using via the satellite of the ship itself when you're at sea. And if you're in the port, it will connect via their local network. So one way or another, you will be roaming, unless you have some sort of a fancy plan where you don't care about roaming. Most people will get charged a lot of money when they do. So it's really important you just slap it into airplane mode, and that locks it in, and then you won't connect. You could still use the Wi-Fi of the ship if you get the, if you buy the Wi-Fi or whatever. But that way, you're not getting charged for roaming. Another important thing is you want to make sure that you set your watch or phone to ship time as soon as you board the ship. It's really important to make sure that you know whatever time is actually on the ship itself, right? Because when you're leaving or you're getting into a certain port, you may be in a different time zone. Their local time may be different from the ship time, and the ship leaves at whatever time they say they're leaving. So you want to make sure that you know what time it is on the ship at all times. Which brings me to my next tip. You do not want to be what people call a pier runner. You don't want to be left behind. So it's really important to make sure that you get to port early. They will leave you. Don't be that person. Plan ahead and leave extra time so you can get to the port without any issues. And speaking about planning, you want to make sure that you plan to research the islands that you're getting to before you get there. You want to learn all of the do's and don'ts. It's really easy now to avoid a lot of the issues that people may be getting into. Check YouTube, check all of the guides, check online to make sure, you do a little bit of research to where you're going. I mean, unless you have all excursions booked where people are just going to take care of you and do everything for you, you just walk out with a ticket of an excursion and have fun and that's it. Unless you're doing that, I really highly suggest you put a little bit of research into where you're going. Don't be like that person that just gets there, says, oh, sweet, we're in the Caribbean, what do you want to do? Don't be that person. Do a little bit of research, especially with the Google, with YouTube and all of that. It's so easy to figure out where you're going and what you might want to do. So avoid all of that by doing a little bit of research. And last but not very least is you want to make sure you do not book an early flight home. I've seen this happen a lot of the times. Remember, even if the ship says that it's docking at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., it's going to take so much time to get clearance from customs, to have issues, and etc. You may not get the actual walk-off time that you will. You might need your bags. You may get stuck waiting for a cab. There's a lot of other issues, tons of times where I try to get off at 7 and I get off like at 9 or 10. It's really important to try to book your flights a little bit later. I would say at least 1 p.m. or later, but I would give yourself plenty of time. It's better to wait at the airport than to miss your flight, because you are not getting off the ship as early as you think you will. And that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up all of my tips. You have all of the knowledge now to go and have the most fun that you possibly can. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.